Coping with COVID and In It Together present Wellness Wednesday, brought to you by the Diabetes Advisory Council of South Carolina and DHEC's Division of Diabetes and Heart Disease Management.
Coping with COVID with Tre Tailor.
Happy Wednesday, y'all. I'm Tre Tailor, and you are watching Coping with COVID, updates on the pandemic and information to help you thrive and survive COVID-19. One of the things that have come up due to COVID is the increase in domestic violence. We are continuing our conversation today about domestic violence during this Domestic Violence Awareness Month. Today, we're focusing on the resources, programs, and information available for survivors and those who need help, and also the men and women who are doing the abuse. How do we stop the cycle at the root of the cause? Author, coach, and advocate Kwan Fitch joins us, along with Dr. Vanessa Guyton with Hush No More and community organizer Tina Torres. Beautiful ladies, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having us.
Absolutely. We'll talk to these ladies coming up next. But first, your COVID community updates. After 2 terms as State Superintendent of Education, Molly Spearman will not seek re-election after her term ends, saying she wants to spend more time with family. The former music teacher and legislator has been enthralled with the school mask mandate issue since the pandemic. State lawmakers have proposed moving the role from an elected position to an appointed one. Under this bill, the governor would appoint a superintendent, and the appointment would be approved by the General Assembly. Now, the bill was not considered for a floor vote in the most recent legislative session. The South Carolina Department of Health and Environmental Control, SCDHEC, is closing their Midlands health departments today through Friday to provide training on administering the kids' COVID vaccines. Mobile clinics will be available outside the buildings for those who have appointments or need their first or second shots. Now, no date has been set yet when children 5 through 11-year-olds will start or receive vaccines, and the agency says they expect to have enough for any parent who wants their child vaccinated. If you have questions about the vaccine, contact your pediatrician or call DHEC at 1-866-365-8110. And Robert Lomanak is the new Richland School District 1 board member. He defeated the other 2 challengers during a special election yesterday with over 62% of the vote. The former Richland 1 teacher is the founder of a nonprofit that deals with education concerns. The election was held to replace Yolanda Anderson, who resigned over the summer after she moved out of the school district. SCDHEC has your most up-to-date list of times, dates, and location for COVID testing and vaccinations in and around South Carolina. Visit scdhec.gov for more information. COVID vaccines are being administered at the VA for all veterans. You can see that information on the screen. If you're a veteran, please contact the VA for your COVID vaccination. Several retailers are administering the COVID vaccination, including Kroger pharmacies. Check the screen for information about that. CVS pharmacies are also administering the COVID vaccine. That includes the CVS pharmacies that are located in Target stores. Brooklyn Baptist Church's vaccine clinic is continuing to be open 7 days a week, and the library is also offering free self-collection kits at every one of the 16 locations. These are drive-through self-collection kits. Also, don't miss your shot. You get a free ride to get your vaccine on the Comet bus system. All you have to do is show that you have an appointment or that you're going to get your vaccine, and you can catch a free ride on the Comet. Online registration help is also being administered through Get Set Up. Seniors or anyone having some technical challenges can call Get Set Up and Get Set Up to make their COVID vaccine appointment. Prisma Health is continuing their drive-through flu shot locations for anyone, and those again are flu shot locations. You can see that information on the screen. Also, if you lost someone due to COVID, FEMA is continuing their funeral reimbursement. Again, that information is on the screen. Please log on and get the help you may need to cover funeral costs for a loved one. Several other financial resources are available, including the SC Bar Association and SC Legal Services. They have a toll-free number and website for rental and mortgage help. Richland County is helping with rental assistance programs, and the Lexington County Bill Assistance Program is still taking applications. SC Housing and Dominion Energy have an assistance program for rent and utilities, and SC Housing has a frontline workers home buying assistance program also. SC Hopes also has 24-hour assistance line from the South Carolina Department of Mental Health. If you or someone you know is having some challenges coping with COVID, please contact SC Hopes. Finally, Election Day is November 2nd. Here in Columbia, we've got a big election for City Council and also for Mayor. Early absentee voting is going on now. You can do it in person or via mail. The information is on the screen. If you need to vote early or want to eliminate all of the waiting in line and crowds, go ahead and vote now. And if you want more information, check the screen for details. I'm Tre Tailor, and you're watching Coping with COVID, updates on the pandemic and information to help you thrive and survive COVID-19. We are streaming live on the TailorMade production page. Please go over there and hit like and follow and share. You not only will be able to watch Coping with COVID Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, and then first Monday with George Wallace, you'll also be able to get all of your COVID-related updates. We're also streaming live on YouTube. I want to thank everyone for joining us on YouTube. Hello there. Please hit the subscribe button. And we also have a presence on Instagram and also on Twitter. Listen, throughout the show, you will see scrolling at the bottom of the screen all types of information, all of the information that I just shared about COVID vaccinations, flu shots, the financial assistance, all of that is available and will be streaming on the bottom of the screen. So please check it out. Just get the resources you need and continue to post and share this information so we can get the message to the masses. I want to thank everyone who is watching so far. Hi to Regina Williams. She says hello. And Kenneth Meyer says, please consider the male perspective. And Kenneth, thank you so much for joining us. We are going to talk about the male perspective. We don't have a male domestic violence survivor on, but I would love to book someone. If you know someone, Kenneth, please let us know. And I know last year when we did the Domestic Violence Awareness Month show, we did have a survivor on, and we would love to share that perspective. So thank you, Kenneth, so much for watching. Please post and share this information out so we can get the message to the masses. Thanks for watching and thanks for your comment. October is Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and today we're talking to providers and community advocates who provide encouragement, insight, and resources. Because the facts are, as I mentioned last week, every 20 minutes someone is a victim of domestic violence. Men and women both experience it, Kenneth. Yes, they do. But less than half of those injured actually say or do anything about it. And it's real. And it happens to people regardless of race, religion, or stature in the community. We're talking to Dr. Vanessa Guyton today. She launched Hush No More, a nonprofit organization that assists survivors of the hush topics: sexual assault, sex trafficking, sexual harassment, domestic violence, child sexual abuse, suicide awareness, and other topics that are not discussed in our community. Survivors are encouraged to heal by sharing their story to help other victims heal. Dr. Guyton has also produced her first documentary, Hush No More, and published the Hush No More book that shares the stories of survivors to bring awareness of the hush topics and how they affect our community, as well as the Hush No More Trauma Releasing coloring book. Vanessa, thank you so much for rejoining us again today. Tina Torres is a survivor, a child witness to domestic violence, a victim of childhood sexual assault, a dating violence survivor, and eventually grew up to raise 3 daughters as a single parent. She has successfully been able to transition from living in a domestic violence shelter to receiving a brand new home through Habitat for Humanity. Tina knows what it's like to pull yourself up from your bootstraps when life knocks you down. In addition to her event planning business, she also founded the nonprofit She Did That Community Advocate Foundation nonprofit mission that offers support services to at-risk families and individuals, including rental assistance, housing support, and crisis support. She's out and about today, again, picking up her beautiful granddaughter and on her way to pick up supplies for some folks that need assistance for Thanksgiving. Thank you, Tina, for joining us again today.
Yes, ma'am.
And last but certainly not least, Kawan Fitch. Coach K is an entrepreneur, published author, co-author of 7 books. Count them: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Speaker, producer, playwright, coach, advocate, mother, and more. She owns and operates multiple businesses and is a gifted and highly skilled visionary with over 20 years of experience in nonprofits, organizations, social services, leadership, business, markets, and entrepreneurship. Hey, Kawan, thank you so much for joining us today, too. I appreciate you. Beautiful. Love those glasses. You can just hand them right over here, girl.
Thank you.
Absolutely. So, ladies, last week, Tina, you shared your story with us about repeated domestic abuse. I want to talk about what type of abuse you experienced because I think people still only think abuse is physical abuse, but it's so much more.
Yes, and I'm going to answer that question really quickly. If people haven't watched the movie on Netflix, it's called Made, they should, because oftentimes we think that domestic violence is just hitting. In this particular movie, it was emotional abuse. It was verbal abuse, and so those were the things that I experienced along with being hit on. I was talked to in a way that made me feel less than. It really just messed with my self-esteem, even as an adult. Um, it was also managing my time, managing what I wore, managing where I went, what I ate, everything that I did to go with, the finances. My money was managed in a way where I wasn't able to access it, who I was around, you, the cutting off from family and friends, not even being able to go to church, not even being able to really associate outside of my his circle, not mine. And so it wasn't just being hit, it was just the emotional, the finance abuse, the every single aspect of my life, considering the fact that I didn't have guidance and knowing that that shouldn't have ever been the case.
Yeah. So you said something key toward the end, which I was going to ask you. So you attribute this to the fact that no one trained you, taught you, showed you, mentored you that you deserved more. Do you
Yeah.
believe this? Is that what it is? You think?
Oh, I'm sure. I grew up in an abusive home. I mean, it was all around me, from my mom, dad, to my aunts, to my uncle, to their friends. I mean, that's all that I saw. You could be at a cookout and everything be great, but when nightfall came and the kids were sent to one room, you eventually heard the yelling and the screaming. I remember sitting up in the attic with some of our cousins, and my stepdad took the door of the car and slammed my mom's arm in it. I mean, it's different things like that it's great when everybody's around and everybody's having a good time. And then the next thing you know, you hear the hitting, the yelling, the screaming, the slamming, and all of that. You're awakened in the middle of the night. You're given a Jolly Rancher to keep your mouth closed because you're a child and you don't understand really what's going on, and you're being rushed out the door into hiding somewhere.
Right.
So I grew up thinking, because they would always go back. So I just assumed that that's what love was, and therefore that's what I should have been having in my life.
Yeah. Kawan, I want to get you in the conversation because Tina talks about her experiences, but I think we all know that that's not the only reason why women and men suffer from domestic violence. I'm sitting here listening to her, thinking about my own life. I mean, I was a fat little girl with glasses and braces. So I grew up, even though my mother encouraged us and all that, I didn't feel pretty. You know what I mean? I didn't feel pretty. And while I was never hit on, I certainly chose the wrong men over and over and over again. And I was talked down to. And like I said, it wasn't as severe as what Tina's saying. But as I'm thinking about it, I was a victim, survivor, if you will, of a type of domestic violence. Do you hear that too?
Absolutely. And it's so crazy that we're having this conversation today. Last couple of days, I've been having a conversation with my mom, and I'm going to be 50 in a couple of months. And my vivid memories of some of the things from my childhood has been really coming back a little, maybe strong. I don't know if it was some things that I had kind of stuffed down. But when I had a conversation with mom and I said, can you send me a picture of when my kindergarten picture when I had the boy cut? And she was like, what? The boy cut? And I said, this most traumatic thing in my life, you don't remember it? And apparently, after having this conversation, and again, the traumatizing act of being taken by my father to the barber shop, I remember the chair, I remember the clippers, I remember that whole experience. And it was not until today is Wednesday, till Monday, that I knew that my mom was actually in the hospital and my grandparents, my father was taking care of me. And that was something that happened while she was unavailable. So it spun us into this conversation about some of the experiences that I had as a kid that have totally affected my opinion of myself, my physical opinion of myself.
Right.
And when you have those things that happen to you, one of the things that we found out in our conversation was that the things that happened to me, there was so much happening to her. And she talked about the hurt and the anger she felt when she came home, and she felt like she couldn't do anything about it. My dad was a Vietnam vet who went into Vietnam with little or no skills and came out a heroin addict, and was just not in the right space to be getting married and having any kids, that's for sure. So all of his anger and dealing with himself, especially after the trauma of war, exploded onto this young naive woman, her first kid, and just the trickle down of so much of stuff.
Yeah.
And there's just so many reasons why. And if you know war now, of what the vets are dealing with now, can you imagine back in the 60s and 70s? Oh my goodness, where they didn't have the supports. And so I said to her, and she said, well, when you went to high school, you were just so mean and rebellious. And I said, well, yeah, coming into high school and finding out your dad is dying of AIDS really does change the rest of your life.
Yeah.
You know, there's so many things that go into the traumatic experiences of a young woman.
Exactly.
That allows her to grow up and not feel good about herself, not feel like she has a place in the world, and certainly not feel that God has held her. It really comes to the place where you go, oh my God, how did I survive? And then when you get anybody who's supposed to love you, who mistreats you, it really comes across at first as truly being that love. And it's hard to reconcile that. It's hard to accept, shoot, I don't love me, so you tell me you love me.
Exactly.
That works.
Exactly. And I think that's the foundation. And I'm not like y'all. I don't know. I'm not learned in this experience in this area. But I think that's the basics. If you don't love yourself, not only can you not love anyone else, you don't know what love looks like to receive healthy love.
Absolutely.
And I was gonna say that, I thought that was simply love because that's all that was around me.
That's right. Yeah.
And Kawan knows this story, and I think Vanessa knows it too. I can't really remember if Vanessa knows. I tell her so much stuff. But my mother is still married to my stepfather who molested me. So, I really had to battle with, do I allow something like that to happen to my girls?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because my mom is still where she is.
Right. Do you have your girls around that situation?
Well, at first they're little, and I needed a sitter, and I'm a single parent, and I was like, well, my mom lets it happen. I guess that's what that's supposed to be. But eventually I realized that, no, I don't have to. This is not what this is supposed. It cannot possibly be acceptable just because what happens behind closed doors stays behind closed. Not with me. And so there's an incident where my father molested me the night before, and then he beat me the next day for a full day with no clothes on. And so, and I think I was 8 or 9, maybe 10. And so for me, I became this kid that really just was like, nobody loves me. Nobody cares about me. Everybody hates me. I'm just a punching bag. And so I grew up thinking that. And I felt that way until I was in my 30s. And so it is so important for us to be able to get the message out that this is not reality, no matter where you are.
Right.
This is not reality. This is not true. This should not be happening.
Right.
Like, I don't know how hard we need to get this message out, but this should not be happening.
Yeah. That's Tina Torres, Kawan Fitch, and also Dr. Vanessa Guyton. And we're talking about domestic violence. It's Domestic Violence Awareness Month. And far too often do we not want to talk about it. But as Tina just said, it is happening. It is happening. And it is subtle abuse. And then it is very blatant, huge abuse. But it's all abuse.
But it's all
abuse. And I just applaud the three of you and many of you for stepping in this space and doing the advocacy. Last week, Vanessa, you shared some simple things that the community can do to support survivors. Can you repeat those again, please?
So I think it's important to just acknowledge that people go through stuff and you don't know what somebody's going through. So saying things like, you should just leave. Why do you stay? The negative comments that you think are positive are very hurtful and makes a person stay in a relationship even longer. So I always recommend for you to say things like, how can I help you? What do you need from me? And be okay if they say nothing. If they say, listen, they just may need you to listen. They may need you to go find resources for them, to go with them to the police. So whatever they need, that is what we should do. And those simple phrases are not judgmental, and they actually show love and kindness. And that's how we show support for those. And also sharing advertisements and memes about domestic violence, speaking up and saying that you are a safe space on social media. That also, as a community, lets people know that they can come and talk to you and that you are available. It's very important that you feel loved and accepted.
What else, Kawan, do women need? Because again, if, Vanessa said, asked, what do you need? How can I help you? Do you need me to come with you to the police? What about if it's not, again, and maybe it's mental abuse, verbal abuse?
Well, one of the things that I know is important that we miss, especially in our female relationships, we need other women to speak into us. Yes. We need other women to see the good in us and to be able to pull that out. I'm sorry, telling somebody to leave or anything like that. When we don't feel good about ourselves, we don't make good decisions about what's going to really truly be in our best interest. So from the outside looking in, we need to be our sister's keeper. If you keep telling her she's beautiful, if you keep telling her how amazing and wonderful she is, if you keep finding the amazing, wonderful things that seem really small, whether it's that she knows how to put herself together, her clothes together, and rework some outfits really, really well. Find something positive, find something good, and just continue to shower it. It's almost as if you are watering the seeds. Plant the seeds and you begin to water them. You keep on with the positive affirmations. When you continue to say those good, positive words into someone, they will begin to hear you. They will begin to believe it. They will begin to see it. And I will also encourage people to do this. One of the things I do with my granddaughters, she's 4. And Candace reminds me so much of me. I look at her and I go, look at Kawan. Oh my goodness. She is wild as an Indian. She is something. And whenever she is around me, I hug her close and I whisper affirmations in her ear. I tell her how beautiful she is. I tell her how smart she is. I tell her what she's going to do amazing things in this world. I don't know what happens when I leave her presence. Right. I don't know what happens in the classroom. I don't know, my son and my daughter-in-law, they're young people. They are young. They got lots of kids. They're working. They're keeping the roof over their head. That is not they're trying to make sure they got a place to live. That is not their top of thought. As the same with my mom when she was raising me, that wasn't the top of thought. So what we know now is that we need to do that. I need her to hear that she's capable, that she is able, that she is worthy, that she is enough. I need to hear her to know that there is someone who sees the positive and the good in her. Be that for someone else. If you know that woman over there is having major issues with that partner in that house, and there are children in that house, be that safe place. Hey, I don't care if you got to sneak them a hot dog before when they get off the school bus so that you don't know if they're going to have dinner. I don't care if you meet them with the peanut butter and jelly. They act like it came from the school. But be that support. Speak positive words. Make sure that that kid, you knew that there was a field trip and that mom didn't have the money. Make sure that you say, hey, do you need money for the field trip that you guys have coming up? Just be the light. Make sure that you are pushing the light and the positivity into those families, into those children, into that girlfriend. She will leave when she's ready and able mentally to be able to leave. It's not even always about money. I need to know that regardless of anything, I have what it takes to make some moves.
Yeah.
Sometimes those realizations don't come until much later. We don't always, we don't walk in what we hear all the time. But when you keep pushing it, listen, it's going to click. It's going to take root. But we have to make sure that we are speaking into that young lady so that she knows that she is better and that she is worthy and she deserves more. If no one ever told her that she deserved more, that she can have more, there's very little of positive good energy going into us. So be that. Even if you got hell going on in your life, but you know she's got hell too, speak some positive into her and she might turn around and speak something positive into you.
Yeah.
And also I would tell people, you have to create that inner circle, create that network. And I'm not talking about 50 people, but Tina Torres knows she can call me and she can unload and unleash, and I'm not going to wear it. I'm not going to keep it. I'm going to accept what she needed to vent and what she needed to say about whatever, however, and how she was feeling. I might have to say one or two words and what have you, but that's all she needed from me. And we do that for each other. We have those people who are close enough to you that you can do that with. It is so important. Yes, get a therapist. Get some close girlfriends, speak positivity, but guess what? Do something.
Yeah. Vanessa, I want to get you in the conversation because Kawan gave us so much great information. I think, though, in my mind, I think it's hard probably if you're in a situation to reach out to somebody because you're probably a little embarrassed. Mm-hmm. You're ashamed. Mm-hmm. Again, you don't feel good about your situation. So I know, it's just hard for me to reach out and I'm not in a situation. You know what I'm saying? So I'm sure it's hard. So then what do people do if someone doesn't reach out? I'll just tell you a quick story. When we did the story about a show about domestic violence, and one of the ladies from Alayla said, she said, it's hard enough to post on social that you're going through cancer or whatever. And then, of course, everybody posts, oh, I'm so sorry. I hate it for you. Let me know if you need anything. And then she said, but now it's hard for us to then reach out to the people who even said they'll help you because you don't want to admit that you need the help. So she said the biggest thing somebody can do is, if you know you want to help, just help. Just do it. Don't ask me. I'm not going to ask you. You know what I'm saying? So is it the same, you think, with survivors of domestic violence, or women or men who are going through it?
Mm-hmm. So it depends. Sometimes people are very private and they're embarrassed. Yeah. So if you just jump in and you try to take control, that's not the right way because they have already lost power and control. So they need to get their power back. And if you do things for people, that's not allowing them to heal. That's not allowing them to take control of their life and to make the decisions for them. So I always ask, how can I help you? What services can I provide? I don't take over, because when I take over, a lot of times people don't follow through because they're not ready. Yeah. And so as a community, sometimes we think we're helping by doing so much, but you're really not helping because they're not taking ownership of the situation that they're in. And you must take ownership and be ready to make decisions about your own life and move forward. So I always ask, can I walk alongside of you?
Right.
I think that is so important. And I can't tell you how I've said, I'm just here. Let me know when you're ready.
Right.
Because as a loving person, I can become overbearing. I want to save your life. I want to change your situation.
Right.
But then what happens is, statistically, they end up going back because they weren't ready. It was what I wanted. And we have to be careful that it's not what we want for them, but what they want for them. And I always tell people, watch your circle, like Kwan said, watch people, what they say and what they do. Look at the different organizations, find one that you can trust. You know, I love to be in the community because I want people to get to know me so they could say, I trust Vanessa. Let me go talk to her. So just showing up and watching how people react to others is a good way to find help in your own local community. And then you can always call a national hotline. There's no face there. You know, there's no judgment. They don't know you from anybody. And so there's resources out there, but you just have to make your own personal choice to reach out because we're here.
Yeah. And we're just gonna let Tina pick up her baby, and then we're gonna bring her back in the conversation. So, do you continue to do it when people keep saying, "No, I don't need help"? No, how often do you? Before we go to break, I want to know how to navigate that. How often do you offer your assistance?
You know, I'm always here. I love you. I'm always here. Then it's up to them. I'm here. You know, I got your back, girl. I love you, man. You can always talk to me. You're talking to a guy, I got you. You know, reach out to me.
Absolutely.
And sometimes you just get them that look.
Making yourself available is the main thing. You know, making yourself available, you know, making sure they know that your phone works 24 hours. Like, you know, it's not that you need to look at the clock before you call me, because it may be only 2:00 in the morning that she can actually call you or something. So making yourself available and not making it difficult, not being a difficult person to talk to, a difficult person to get with. You know, I often say, you know, if I have what you need and you never asked me for it, you know, that's not going to really serve you well, you know, but I can let you know what I have.
Right.
I can let you know what I have. Hey, you know, I got this, I got a program happening. You know, I know this woman who does A, B, and C. I get plenty of calls from somebody who gave someone else my name or my number or what have you as a possibility of someone who can help. So just making yourself and making the resources available.
Yeah, that's Coach K, Kwan Fish. We're also talking to Dr. Vanessa Dunn Guyton with Hush No More. Tina Torres is going to join us after the break. She's picking up her grandbaby from school. Shout out to East Point Academy, where I'm on my way to after the show. Wow. And coming up next, a topic that you rarely hear about, help for the abusers. We'll talk about that next and more on Coping with COVID. I'm Tre Tailor. We'll be right back.
Computers, they're a part of our everyday lives. But when they're not working, they're an everyday problem. So call Computers Unique, your everyday solution. 803-351-5821. Is your computer replaced, or maybe you just need another computer? Well, Computers Unique is your one-stop shop for all your computer needs. They have a wide variety of new and pre-owned PCs, Macs, and tablets. So call Computers Unique, Dutch Square Mall. 803-351-5821. 803-351-5821.
Let Palmetto Painting Services take the worry out of your next home painting project. We can paint anything. Our business is about interior painting and exterior painting. We offer services for residential and commercial properties. Restore the life to your home with a fresh coat of paint from Palmetto Painting Services. References are available upon request. Give us a call at 803-546-4570 today.
The Comet gives me a reliable source of transportation.
It's very convenient to me, and they have wonderful drivers.
It's clean, and it builds community. It's fun to meet people.
It makes me feel like really independent. It's just fun.
It's always going to be there, and it gets me everywhere I need to go.
We try to ride every single day. Comedy is our livelihood.
Imagine yourself 1 year from now. You've tackled your prediabetes, you're eating well, staying active, and reducing stress. You've even made a few new friends, all because you took charge of your health and lowered your risk of type 2 diabetes. It's possible when you join In It Together SC. You can start by taking our online risk assessment. Find a coach to help you with real-life solutions. This can be you, and it can all start today. Find an online or in-person program. Visit InItTogetherSC.org to get a healthier head start on your future. Brought to you by the Diabetes Advisory Council of South Carolina.
How will you remember the year 2020?
COVID.
Losing my job.
Working 12-hour shifts in a mask.
Losing my grandma to COVID.
COVID has claimed thousands in South Carolina and strained our health system, schools, businesses, and families. If you're struggling and need to talk, call SC Hopes. That free call can help put you in touch with people who can help. This goes for healthcare workers, teachers, restaurant employees, parents, anyone and everyone. SC Hopes, mental health and addiction support for challenging times.
Good afternoon. I'm Tre Tailor, and you're watching Coping with COVID, updates on the pandemic and information to help you thrive and survive COVID-19. Thank you so much for watching. Please post and share this important information out because somebody needs to hear it. We're streaming live on the Tailor Made production page on Facebook. Please go over there and hit like and share and follow. And not only will you be able to get notifications when to watch Coping with COVID Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, and first Monday with comedian George Wallace, you can get all of your COVID-related updates. We're also streaming live on YouTube. Hello, all of you YouTubers. Thank you so much. Please hit the subscribe button. And we are also streaming, have a presence on Facebook and Instagram. Don't forget, at the bottom of the screen, you will see in the scroll all types of great information, important resources for you financially, medically, regarding financial resources and COVID and more. So please check out that information on the screen. October is Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and we're talking today about conversations so many shy away from, but everyone needs to hear because the numbers are startling concerning how many people actually experience domestic violence. 15% of all deaths in the United States are due to domestic violence. 72% of all murder-suicides involve an intimate partner. And while men are the victims, also 94% of victims between the ages of 19 and 24 are women. We're talking to Coach K, Kawan Fitch, who is an author, advocate, and community resource for several things, particularly women in challenging situations. We're also talking to Vanessa Dunn-Guyton with Hush No More, and Tina Torres, who is a community activist and domestic violence awareness advocate and survivor. They join us today for this important conversation. Ladies, I want to ask a little bit about abusers. What are the causes and the reasons behind someone being an abuser? And are they different for men and women? Come on, you want that
conversation? Vanessa got a big grin to us. Well, I don't have the letters behind or in front of my name but there definitely needs to be, mental health has to be a part of this diagnosis of a person who does not have the self-control not to abuse other people. Okay. I'll say that, yes, domestic violence is about power and control. And there's many reasons why people feel the need to control other people. And for whatever those reasons are, there is usually mental health as definitely a part of it. And there's some diagnosis that goes with that. Early in my career, I worked with offenders and not just domestic violence offenders, but criminal offenders, and teaching cognitive self-change and helping people to understand that their thoughts and feelings about things are what goes into their behavior and their actions, and helping them to kind of break that up. And so I think is how I do. There is something that's happening with how we think, which controls what we do. And, recently, my ex-husband, he tried really, really hard to convince me that he was changed. And usually, again, I don't have the letter, so I won't say that in word, but usually people who have a certain personality disorder, they try to cover so hard. And as soon as they come up against someone who does not buy it and does not appreciate their so-called change in behavior, the real them shows up. So, and then it becomes my fault that I did not, respond in the way that they thought I should have, because even though they were, I didn't tell you what to do. It's like, oh, well, I asked you to so and so and so. Oh, that's different from when you used to say, well, I told you to do so and so and so. So there was, he changed the words, which in his mind changed, but the outcome was you were still trying to control me in what I did and thought that you could. And when it didn't happen, now you're angry. I won't, there is definitely something there that says that it's okay to mistreat someone else, period. Behavior comes from a certain level of thinking, and that thinking, whether right or wrong, it allowed people to make the choices that they made. Mm-hmm. So I will say that for the person who was on the receiving end of that behavior, that's not my problem. That sounds like a problem that person, if they choose, is something that they need to fix.
Yeah.
My problem is making sure that the young men that I am commissioned to raise know how to make different decisions, and that they have a train of thought that processes differently in terms of how they behave and they act. Right. So I think that the issue with abusers and people who feel that they can control other people is that there aren't enough people around holding them accountable to that behavior as well.
Right. So, Vanessa, do abusers end up being abusers?
Sometimes.
People who are abused.
Sometimes. Not all the time. Sometimes you might grow up in an abusive home and that's what you see, so you replicate that behavior. Sometimes stress can happen. Sometimes it is a mental health issue. Mm-hmm. But I always say that you can't use it as an excuse.
Amen.
The behavior is wrong. And so you need to do something to correct the behavior, period, no matter what. And that's for men and women, right? You have to correct the behavior and figure out what's going on mentally to make sure that you're not harming somebody else or harming yourself.
Absolutely.
And so there's so many reasons why people decide. A lot of it boils down to choice and power and control. And so we have to make better choices and better decisions on how we take out our stressors, our behaviors on other people.
Yeah. I want to say hi to Marvell Mendenhall. She says it's the same right for both men and women. Please post and share this information out. We're talking about domestic violence awareness. This segment, we're talking about the abusers, because that's a huge part of the pie. And I hear, what you ladies are saying. We've all got to be responsible for our own stuff, and as the abused, you can't, because listen, as women, and I'm just talking from a female perspective, we feel we're fixers. So we feel like, we're nurturers. We feel like we can love him correctly. We can, sex him, into submission, so to speak, and not take care of our own well-being. But on the other hand, if someone is abused, you got to know that you're an abuser. You've got to wrap your head around the fact, because you guys are saying you've got to take responsibility, but that takes another step. You got to recognize you're doing something wrong.
Most definitely. I remember when my ex first came home from jail, he said to me, I did everything I could to try to break you.
Wow.
Oh, so you know this now. And that breaking was a lot of what made me who I am now. I don't negate the journey. I don't look at the journey as being anything but what has made me into the woman that I am today. That little girl who dealt with, the issues of her parents and the things that spilled over into my childhood and so on, was looking for love in all the wrong places, and I accepted it because that's what I thought I was worthy of. And had I not, I say every woman that I come in contact with now, did I have to go through all that I had to go through in order to know firsthand experience for all of the many different issues of the women in transition that I work with. So, it is certainly something that has spiraled me into the woman that I am today. Right. And I used to protect him in his behavior, and and most recently, I had to, just really put pull the cover back for my boys. They're older now. They have a different understanding. And for them to get a little bit of the peace beyond the, I'm changed. I'm not, whoever he said he was. And for them to see, who the real him that has shown up.
Right.
And see that, mom's not making this up. She's not, just, making it, being dramatic or anything of the sort. No, he really did say that stuff, to her. And if it was not him, you would really be not okay with this person speaking to me like that.
Right.
So, and dealing with the abuser from this place has certainly been a challenge. But what I did do, I had to block and delete completely in order for it not to continue to come at me. You guys can communicate, but there's absolutely no reason whatsoever for me to have to do that.
Yeah.
I'm good.
Yeah. And you bring up a good point, Kawan, when your boys are at a point where you don't have to have a conversation with your ex-husband. They can do that, but I am protecting myself and I'm not going to engage,
Absolutely.
But it had to come to that point. One, you had to come to that,
yes.
And they had to come to an age where you could separate the two.
Absolutely. Because even in all that I went through with him, I did not feel that I had the right to taint how the boys their interact. I never spoke. Listen, I can tell you all the many things that this person did to me, but I did not want them to wear that. I have memories of things that I knew that my dad did to my mom and how it really has. I didn't want that for them. So, by not doing that, though, I created, especially in my younger son's mind, this possibility that, well, maybe he wasn't so bad and you guys could get back together, because I didn't share the how bad it really was. Yeah. So, it kind of came back to bite me a little bit. But in recent times, they've gotten to see a picture of truly the monster that he can be.
Yeah.
And I felt horrible that they had to witness and hear. But it's like, how do you get someone to see the truth in someone without them seeing the truth in someone, even if it's an ugly truth?
Right. That's Coach K, Kawan Fitch. We're also talking to Tina Torres, who is a domestic violence advocate and a survivor herself. Vanessa Dunn-Guyton is with Hush No More. Mike Adams, guys, says verbal abuse is becoming acceptable with young people today. Neither one is acceptable in my book. Marvell Williams-Mendenhall says that she thinks verbal abuse can be worse than physical abuse. And it certainly both are. And I guess you hear people say, the physical heals can wound, but the verbal wounds are lasting.
Mm-hmm.
They are.
Do you think that, Tina?
I do agree with that. I stress very hard now. Back then, I just held on to that a lot, and I allowed it to fuel, more of me being defiant and being. Because I became very combative, and as certain things trigger, it's a reminder of what you've gone through, and sometimes you gotta try not to let that trigger you again. Mm-hmm. But verbal abuse is very, very real, mm-hmm. And I'm very mindful of when this 5-year-old is around, if I'm having to have a conversation or anything like that, or if her mom is upset, or if her dad is upset, I have to remind them, listen, you guys are parents, this is a child, there's a certain way that you need to speak, because she children remember things and they hold on to things. Yeah. They don't forget. Mm-hmm. And verbal abuse is detrimental. The bruise is going to go away. The scratch is going to go away. The teeth will grow back or may not. but that verbal, that word, go sit down, that wording, the wording and how it was said and the manner that of which it was said, it sticks with you. And it is a constant reminder of it. So it's
Tina Torres, Coach K, Kawan Fitch, and Vanessa Dunguyton join us on our conversation about domestic violence awareness. Marvell Williams Vanderhall says our kids are listening when you think they aren't. Thank you so much, Marvell. Nikki, Kimberly Nikki Hardy says that all three of you ladies are some of the strongest I know outside of her family. She says the journey they had to walk was, however, unfortunate, but necessary in order for them to be the domestic violence warriors they are. She says, God continue to bless all of you. Thank you. Thank you so much, Kimberly, for your comments. What can we do for the abuser, ladies, as we wrap up this conversation? What can we do for the abuser? How
can I just say this?
Yes.
When it comes to men, there are not, and I think Miss Vanessa is working on this, there are not men support groups for abusers that I am aware of in Columbia, South Carolina. And so they don't have, I'm not saying I condone what they do. Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is they don't have an avenue.
Right.
They don't have
the support like women have.
Somebody can go to and say, listen, this is what I'm doing. I know I probably shouldn't be doing this. I don't know what to do, or whatever, however they want to word it.
Right.
There is not one for abusers and for the men who have been abused. We don't have that. Yes, women are abused, but men are abused too. And because of society, because of pride, and because of all these other things, because they are men, it's like, A, some of them are not going to speak up. And B, there aren't any support groups for them to go to, whether they are the abuser or the abusee. And so the abused. And so that needs to change. That needs to change. And I think that if we had more programs for them, then I think that we might be able to see some changes somewhere along the line.
Yeah. Vanessa, you want to get in here?
And unfortunately, where you do see the programs is in the court system. So they've already committed the crime, and now they want to help them after the fact. So it's reactive. When I talk to men and women that are abusers, right, there's two websites that have a lot of information that is very helpful, because Tina is right. There's very limited resources for anybody that's an abuser. And there are a lot of abusers if you look at the statistics of women being abused or men being abused.
What are those websites, Vanessa?
The Center for Prevention of Abuse.org is a great website for abusers and survivors.
Center for Prevention of Abuse. Okay.
Centers for Prevention of Abuse.org. And FuturesWithoutViolence.org has a lot of information for abusers. So you're not alone. There are a lot of information out there that you could use. You can also talk to a counselor about being an abuser. You don't have to wait until you end up in the criminal system to do something about it. And you can reach out to me. I will gladly give you resources and information. And I will tell you, I had a bias at one point against abusers, period. Like, go to jail. That was my outlook. But then I realized that they need help too. They're hurting.
They know.
You know, they've been through some things. And so how can I help you? And a lot of them have experienced childhood sexual abuse. They've experienced incest, but they've never addressed it. Now you're taking it out on somebody else. So how can I help you from a different level? But those two websites are great resources. I will go back into your chat and actually put it in for you so that they can use that. But it's not that we don't care about abusers. We just normally go after the person that is being hurt.
Right.
But I care about you too, because there's something there that is causing you to hurt another human being and not show them love and empathy. And so I think it's important.
Yeah. How can we intervene early for kids who have seen abuse so they don't become abusers?
Sometimes people don't want to call the police and report it, but I will tell you to call and report it, because you have to you have to use wisdom. It's a chance that you're taking when you intervene. Sometimes you actually add more harm to the individual that is in this relationship, because now they're going to take it out on her or him because somebody else knows. So they're mad that it's out. And if you see something going on, call the police, call for help. If you've tried to just show love to a person and they're not getting it, intervene. I was that child that grew up in a very violent home, and I wish people would have intervened, and did something about it. And our police department here in our local area has a lot of training now on how to handle domestic violence, how to handle these type of crimes. Years ago, I'll tell you, I don't know about calling the police, right? It was hard for us to go that route. But if you see it, do something, say something. And you don't always want to intervene in person, because now you're at risk, you're in danger. Or you could call an advocate, call one of our organizations and talk to us about it. And we will help you come up with a plan of how you can intervene safely, because we have to think about those children are still in that home. And I've seen where the adults are killed and the children are killed as it relates to domestic violence. So you have to be very careful when you're intervening and children are in the home.
Right. The Centers for Prevention of Abuse website.org is scrolling at the bottom of the screen. We also have some other resources scrolling at the bottom of the screen. So if you know someone, if you are someone, whether you are the abuser or the abused, just reach out to somebody. Reach out to somebody. Let's break the cycle. We can break the cycle. We've got to wrap up, ladies, but I do want to bring up just quickly, Columbia seems to be a hot spot for sex trafficking due to the highways. I mean, I think we all know Chandra Dillard, who works, or Chandra, what's her name? Cleveland. Thank you. I said Chandra Dillard. I don't know who
we got you, Trey. We got you.
Thank you. We know who she is, that does some amazing work in this space. What do we say to our girls, and how do we talk to our kids about this type of behavior, even this being unacceptable, and not accepting it for themselves?
Well, that's exactly correct. Talking to the girls, making sure that we are having conversations with them. One of the things that happened to me when I was younger was nobody talked to me about some of these things and let me kind of go figuring it out. And as long as I had a smile on my face, everything was fine. We find that our girls are tipping out of windows and tipping out of homes in the middle of the night, getting into cars because someone is speaking into them. They don't have any other voices that are being spoken into them in a positive way and giving them some positive interaction that is specifically about helping them to own who they are, love who they are, and giving them an alternative. We have a nonprofit, Girls Empower, GURLS, Girls Empowerment Network, and that's exactly what we do with our girls. We are all about sharing with them and getting them to understand that they are valuable, that there is so much more to life than that little boy or that little girl now. So we just really are trying to love on them and give them a whole different perspective, and encouraging them to talk. It is okay to tell your mom where you're going. It is okay to, Coach C or Coach T, my coaches in our program, there are people that you can talk to. There are other people outside of, your immediate family, because we got other stuff going on. But if you're out of that community that you've created and given these girls someone else that they can chat with, there's somebody that needs to know. There's somebody that needs to know who you're with and what's going on. So I'm definitely all about making sure that we are speaking into those girls. And we have room, if you know adolescent girls, our girls are 9 to 17. So let me know if you have girls who are looking for a resource.
Yeah, please put Kawan, and people can reach you at your contact information.
Absolutely.
Mike Adams also says, if any brothers are listening to this, he says he's not a counselor or he said he's a doctor. I'm not a counselor. I'm not a doctor, but I'm a great listener. Please reach out to him. Mike Adams, listen, we're going to reach out to you too, to have you on the show, because we would love to talk to you about whatever you're doing to help brothers in this space, because everybody needs somebody. And I mean, we can't be irresponsible and say, we just got to help. We just got to help where we can. And listen, and everybody can't help everybody. Mike can help men. Everybody can't help everybody. You've got to be clear at this is the demographic that I can help.
Amen.
Right. Trey, I really want
people have to be okay with that.
That's right. Yeah.
I want parents to know, don't just talk to your girls. Talk to your boys about sex trafficking.
Oh, yes.
Because we have young men that are in it, or they are victims of sex trafficking, or they're partaking in sex trafficking, right? And sometimes they don't even know it. You have to give your children scenarios. If this was to happen, if you were at school and they asked you to leave the school and you go to a party, because sex trafficking doesn't look like the boogeyman that's coming out there. It's their friends, it's their teachers, it's the librarian that is getting them involved in this. And so you have to give them scenarios. And then when you see events in your community that is addressing things that happens to children, let your children go to these events so they can get a different perspective, because we don't always talk to our parents. They're not always going to talk to you. I didn't talk to my parents about really nothing. And so you can't assume that your children are going to talk to you. You have to create other outlets and other programs that they can attend, that they can have an open dialogue and conversation. But take your boys, not just your girls. I need both to be there. It is so important because it is real what is happening to our children.
Yeah.
And they can't talk to their parents. A lot of them talk to me. I know Coach K saying the same thing. They're not talking to their parents. I don't care what type of relationship you have. So it is real. It is happening right here in South Carolina. And we are a melting, boiling pot of human trafficking.
Yeah.
And I will say for my household, you know, with my girls, you know, my house was the community house.
Right.
Every parent could find I don't know how that occurred, but maybe because I had a tight hold on my girls, I wouldn't let them stay anywhere based on what I went through as a child.
Yeah.
So they couldn't go anywhere. But my house, we talked about teen pregnancy. We talked about the company you keep. You know, their parents trusted enough for me to have those conversations. And there are organizations such as Friendly Atmosphere, you know, Coach K, all these different programs. I'm going to say this, and I'm going to say this as politely as I can. Us parents need to stand up and help these children instead of letting the village take care of the children. Us as parents need to come on out and see what's going on. We need to get involved. We need to put our best foot forward, regardless of our home situation.
Right.
Because if we don't, our children are seeking that in the street. And so therefore, that friendly voice that they're listening to is drawing them into the trafficking, the drugs, the gangs, and all that's going on. It starts at home, and we as parents need to stop what we're doing and start being there for our children.
Yeah, that's Tina Torres with us. She did that. You can see her information on the screen. We also talked to Vanessa Guyton with Hush No More. This is her logo, and her information is on the screen. Please contact Vanessa. And then, of course, Coach K, Kawan Fitch with Girls Empowerment Network and all of the other things that she does for our community. Please contact these ladies if you need more information, you need more resources. There's information and resources scrolling at the bottom of the screen. There's help. There's help for the abusers. There's help for the abused. There's help for our girls. There's help for our boys. But I think these ladies said it best. As parents, as grandmamas and aunties and family friends and church members, we've got to seek it out. And we've got to reach out to our young people and stop sitting on the sideline and saying, look at that fast girl or that boy, that's whatever we saying.
Yep.
We got to be real. We got to be real and recognize that our kids are exposed to so much more now with the internet and social media than we ever were. So we have got to treat these children more like they're ours, not like they are our own, but like they are us.
We were kids too, and I think sometimes we tend to forget that. And so some of the stuff is being repeated from when we were kids. So we need to take the time to recognize that.
Tina Torres, Dr. Vanessa Guyton, Coach K, Kawan Fitch, thank you ladies so much for coming back on today talking about this important topic. It was worth talking about, actually more than twice. It's something we should talk about every month. As a matter of fact, I might get you guys on every month to talk about some different things in this space, because October is Domestic Violence Awareness Month, but it happens every month of the year.
Amen.
Yes, it does.
Yeah. Ladies, thank you so much for everything you do in the community. I appreciate you.
You have a good one. Thank you.
You too.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Thank you so much. Thank you. All right. So again, the resources are scrolling at the bottom of the screen. Please take advantage of all of the great resources that were shared today. Also, if you have a story or initiative that can help someone cope with COVID, please email booking at copingwithtreitailor.com. If you have a product or service that could help someone cope with COVID, please email copingwithtreitailor@gmail.com. Tomorrow on Coping with COVID, we're going to talk with Dr. Jane Kelly. She is the assistant epidemiologist with DHEC. She's going to give us a COVID vaccine update, children's vaccines, booster shots, and more. She's going to tell us all about it. Plus, Conley Ann Ragley with the Department of Social Services is going to update us on some additional child care assistance that the department has initiated. Whether you have gotten benefits with DSS with child care or not before, just because due to COVID, if you have had some inefficiencies with your work, you could be eligible for these resources. That's coming up tomorrow on Coping with COVID. As always, I leave you with a reading from Jesus Calling. Today is October 27th, and Jesus says, as you become increasingly aware of my presence, you find it easier to discern the way you should go. This is one of the practical benefits of living close to me. Instead of wondering about what is on the road ahead or worrying about what you should do if or when, you can concentrate on staying in communication with me, Jesus says. When you actually arrive at a choice point, I will show you which direction to go. Many people are so preoccupied with future plans and decisions that they fail to see choices they need to make today. Without any conscious awareness, they make their habitual responses. People who live this way find a dullness creeping into their lives. They sleepwalk through their days, following well-worn paths of routine. Jesus says, I am the creator of the universe. I am the most creative being imaginable. I will not leave you circling in deeply rutted paths. Instead, I will lead you along fresh trails of adventure, revealing you things you did not even know. Stay in communication with me, Jesus says, following my guiding presence. That's your Jesus Calling for today, Wednesday, October 27th. I'm Tre Tailor. Until the next time, I wish you peace and abundant blessings. Take care, stay well, be safe, get your vaccine, and don't forget to wear your mask over your nose and under your chin. See you tomorrow.
Coping with COVID and In It Together present Wellness Wednesday, brought to you by the Diabetes Advisory Council of South Carolina and DHEC's Division of Diabetes and Heart Disease Management.
Coping with COVID with Tre Tailor.